They say a wolf's heart can only shatter once. One rejection, one severing of the soul bond, and then silence. The kind that kills slowly, from the inside out. Most rejected Omegas die within 3 days. Their wolves retreat, their bodies surrender. The pain, too much, the shame, unbearable. But sometimes, very rarely, one survives, and when she does, when the broken thing refuses to stay broken, when the discarded discovers she was never worthless to begin with, that's when the real story begins. This is a tale of two wolves. One cast aside like spoiled meat, sent to die in a frozen fortress beside a king everyone assumed was already dead. The other, poisoned, paralyzed, abandoned by hope. They should have perished, separately, forgotten. Instead, on the night the full moon rose over black stone towers, when screams echoed through abandoned corridors, when amber light exploded from trembling hands, everything changed, because the world had underestimated them both, and those who discard the powerless never see the reckoning coming until it's too late. This is that reckoning. 4 years ago, the night Isolde met death, or what she thought was death, turned out to be something else entirely. Rain hammered the forest, cold, brutal, the kind that soaked through wool and skin straight into bone. She was 19, stupid, running through the woods after dark because she'd dropped the kitchen master's prized copper pot in the creek, and if she didn't retrieve it before dawn, she'd be whipped. Again. Being Omega meant the whip came easy. Too easy. The rogues came faster. 3 of them. Massive, aggressive, feral, eyes yellow in the darkness. One had blood crusted around his mouth. Fresh blood, which meant they'd already killed tonight, and weren't remotely full. Isolde backed against a tree. Her wolf whimpered. Useless. Weak. The Omega wolf couldn't even shift properly. Just a pathetic half-transformation that left her vulnerable. Exposed. The largest rogue grinned, teeth bared, sharp. Omega, alone in the dark. His voice was gravel scraping glass. Must be our lucky night. Isolde closed her eyes, thought about her mother, dead before Isolde could remember her face. Thought about the pack, who would probably shrug when they found her body. One less mouth to feed. One less Omega cluttering up the hierarchy. Then, a roar. Not human, not wolf. Something in between. Something that made the trees shudder. The rain paused. The earth hold its breath. Cassian exploded from the darkness. 24 years old. Already built like a warrior. Muscles rippling under skin that gleamed in the moonlight. His wolf was massive, black as midnight. Eyes burning amber. He tore through the rogues like they were paper. Claws, teeth, brutal efficiency. The largest rogue tried to run. Cassian caught him by the throat. Slammed him into a tree so hard the trunk cracked. Splintered. Touch her again. I dare you. The rogue couldn't answer because his windpipe was crushed. Cassian dropped the body, turned, shifted back to human form. Naked, covered in blood and rain, heat rising from his skin. He looked at Isolde and the world. Stopped. Later, much later, she would understand what happened in that moment. The mate bond snapping into place, invisible threads weaving between souls, tying them together in ways that had nothing to do with choice, everything to do with destiny. But right then, she just thought he was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. You're hurt. His voice was softer now. Gentle. He moved toward her, careful, like she was something fragile, something worth not breaking. I'm fine. A lie. She was trembling so hard her teeth chattered. Cassian pulled off his cloak, the one that materialized from wherever shifted wolves kept their clothes. Pack magic. He wrapped it around her shoulders. It smelled like pine, wood smoke, something indefinably him. What's your name, Isolde? Isolde. The way he said it, like it was a prayer, like it mattered. I'm Cassian, Alpha Heir, and I'm going to make sure nothing ever hurts you again. He carried her back to the pack house. Through the rain, she tucked her face against his chest, felt his heartbeat, strong, steady, sure. The copper pot stayed lost in the creek. She never got whipped for it, because Cassian made it clear. Crystal clear, anyone who touched Isolde answered to him. The secret started that night. Had to be secret, because Cassian was Alpha Heir, destined to lead, expected to mate with someone strong, someone beta at minimum, certainly not an omega who could barely shift, who'd never contributed anything to the pack except bruises and kitchen labor. But in the dark, in the spaces between duty and dawn, they found each other. He would slip into her tiny room in the servants' quarters. She'd be waiting, always waiting. He'd kiss her like she was oxygen, like he'd been drowning until her. "When I take the alpha title, I'm claiming you." He said it 100 times, 1,000, each time like a vow. They'll oppose it, the council, the elders. Let them. His amber eyes fierce in the candlelight. "You're mine. I don't care about tradition, politics, any of it." Isolde wanted to believe him. God, she wanted it so badly it hurt. But there was always a but. 4 years of secret meetings, stolen kisses, whispered promises, and not once did he claim her publicly. Not once did he even acknowledge her in daylight. Soon, I promise, soon. Soon became a weapon, a cage, a lie she didn't know she was living inside. Present day, the night everything shattered. Isolde stood in the great hall, heart trying to punch through her ribs. She wore a dress borrowed from one of the kitchen maids. Pale blue, simple, the best she could manage. Her dark hair was braided, hands shaking so badly she had to clasp them together. The hall was packed, every pack member, every elder, every beta family of consequence. They lined the walls, filled the tables, the smell of roasted meat and spiced wine thick in the air. And underneath, the sharper scent of anticipation, judgment, predators scenting weakness. At the front, on the raised platform, stood Cassian, Alpha now officially. The ceremony had been 3 days ago. His father stepped down. Cassian stepped up. The pack howled their approval. Tonight was supposed to be the mating ceremony. The night the new Alpha claimed his Luna. Isolde had believed, stupidly, desperately, that tonight, finally, he'd keep his promise. He stood there in ceremonial furs, amber eyes bright, strong jaw set, every inch the Alpha. Beside him stood Elowen, beta-born, beautiful, from the wealthy Silverbrook territory. Her family controlled 3 mining operations and a profitable trade route. She wore crimson silk, a gold circlet in her blonde hair. Perfect, powerful, everything an Alpha's mate should be. Isolde's stomach dropped. No. This wasn't. He wouldn't. Cassian's eyes found hers across the crowd, held for a moment. She saw something flicker there. Regret, pain, maybe, or maybe she imagined it. Wanted to see it so badly she invented it whole. Then he looked away. "The pack requires strength." His voice boomed, echoed off the vaulted ceiling. "In these uncertain times, with rogues pressing our borders, enemies circling, an Alpha cannot afford weakness, cannot afford sentiment." Isolde's knees wobbled. Someone nearby snickered. She smelled her own fear, sour, pathetic. Cassian of the Blood Moon Pack, Alpha and Protector, choose Lady Elowen of Silverbrook as my mate, my Luna, my partner in leadership. The words landed like blows, each one a knife between her ribs. But he wasn't done. He turned, looked directly at Isolde, his face carved from stone. "And I, Cassian, reject you, Isolde, Omega of no house, no lineage, no worth. I sever our bond. You are no mate of mine." The world imploded. The mate bond, the invisible thread that had tied them together for 4 years, snapped, actually snapped. Physical pain, worse than physical, like her soul was being torn apart, ripped down the middle, raw edges screaming. Isolde gasped, stumbled, fell to her knees on the cold stone floor. The sound of her kneecaps hitting echoed, or maybe that was just her heart, shattering around her. Whispers erupted, vicious, gleeful. An Omega, goddess above. Did she actually think delusional, pathetic? Probably threw herself at him. They always do. Should be ashamed, trying to trap an Alpha. Isolde forced herself to look up. Through tears, through soul-deep agony, she looked at Cassian, searching, desperate for something, anything. A sign this was a nightmare, a test, a cruel joke with a punchline coming. His face was blank, empty, He'd already turned back to Elowin, already moved on, like Isolde had never existed, like 4 years meant nothing. She tasted copper, bit through her own lip. The pain grounded her enough to stand, somehow, legs like water, vision blurring. And then the doors crashed open. Wind howled into the hall, bitter, ice cold, carrying the scent of snow and strangers. Soldiers marched in, 24 of them, armor black as midnight, etched with silver, the crest on their chest plates, a wolf impaled by a sword beneath a crown of iron. Iron Peak Kingdom. The whispers died. Every wolf in the hall went still. Even the drunk beta straightened. Because Iron Peak was dangerous, powerful. Their king controlled the northern territories. The mountain passes. Cross them and your pack starved when winter trade routes closed. At the front of the contingent, Duke Aldrich, tall, silver-haired, face like weathered granite, 55 but looked older, harder. He moved with the careful precision of a man who knew exactly how much power he held. He walked straight to the platform, ignored every other wolf in the room, his eyes, pale gray, fixed on Cassian. Alpha Cassian, his voice was ice over steel. I come bearing terms from King Kalen of Iron Peak. Our winter treaty is overdue. Grain, steel, and as agreed upon 20 years ago, a bride of noble pack standing to serve the royal household. The hall held its breath. Cassian's jaw tightened, just barely, a micro-expression most would miss. But Isolde saw it, even through her pain. She saw the flicker of, what? Fear, calculation. The grain and steel are prepared, Duke Aldrich. Cassian's voice was smooth, too smooth. And as for the bride, he paused, his eyes cut sideways, down, directly at Isolde, still kneeling on the floor, tears streaking her face, soul bleeding out through a severed bond. A cruel light flickered in his gaze. We offer a woman of pure bloodline, he pointed. Isolde. Gasps, actual gasps, even the cruel ones, the ones who'd laughed at her humiliation, sounded shocked. Duke Aldrich's eyes narrowed, traveled down to Isolde, assessed her like livestock. An Omega, contempt dripped from the word. You insult King Kalen by offering the lowest rank of your pack. She is unbonded, pure as the treaty requires. Cassian lied without hesitation, smooth as silk. The treaty specifies a bride, not her rank. Duke Aldrich stared, long enough that sweat beaded on Cassian's forehead. Then, slowly, he smiled. It wasn't kind. Very well, the king will appreciate your generosity. He gestured. 2 guards stepped forward, grabbed Isolde by the arms, hauled her to her feet, their grip bruising. She didn't fight, couldn't. The pain was everything. As they dragged her toward the doors, she looked back. One last time. Cassian had already turned away, laughing at something Elowin whispered in his ear. In the shadows, at the very back of the hall, an old man watched. Elder Balthazar. His eyes met Isolde's, just for a heartbeat. And in that moment, she could have sworn he looked sad, but also satisfied. The journey to Iron Peak took 7 days. 7 days locked in an iron cage on wheels, pulled by massive draft horses. The cage was barely large enough to lie down in. Freezing, the cold seeped through the metal bars, through her thin dress, into her bones. Isolde shivered. Constantly, her teeth chattered, her body racked with fever. The broken mate bond was killing her. That's what happened to rejected Omegas. Everyone knew. The bond severed. The soul couldn't heal. The wolf retreated so deep it might as well be dead. And then, the body just gave up. Most rejected Omegas lasted 3 days, maybe 4. Isolde was on day 5. She threw up bile every few hours, dry heaving when there was nothing left. Her skin burned, then froze, then burned again. Sweat soaked her dress, plastered her hair to her skull. And through the fever, the visions came. Women, dozens of them. Hundreds, stretching back through centuries. They wore strange clothes, spoke languages Isolde didn't recognize, but they all glowed. Amber light, not golden, not quite, deeper, richer, like honey lit from within. The light poured from their hands, They pressed those glowing palms against wounded soldiers, dying children, sick elders, and the wounds closed. The fevers broke, death retreated, healers, but more than that, something older. Isolde didn't understand. Her mind was too fractured, too feverish. The visions blurred with reality. She'd wake up screaming, coughing, falling back into delirium. On day 6, Captain Thaddeus rode alongside the cage, 35, scarred, his face permanently set in a scowl. He'd ignored Isolde for the entire journey, until now. Drink. He shoved a water skin through the bars. Isolde stared at it, trying to make her eyes focus. Drink or die. Either way. Makes no difference to me. She took it, hands shaking, drank. The water was cold, clean. It hurt going down her raw throat, but it helped a little. Why? Her voice was a rasp, barely audible. Why give me water if it makes no difference? Thaddeus was quiet. So long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, because King Kalen requested an Omega bride specifically, he said it like it tasted bad. Someone put that idea in his head before the ambush, before the poisoning. He insisted. An Omega, no one else. Isolde's fever-fogged brain tried to process that. Why would a king want an Omega? Thaddeus's eyes were unreadable. I don't know, but someone does. And they wanted you, specifically, at Iron Peak. He rode ahead, left Isolde with that thought. That night, huddled in the cage, shivering. She heard the soldiers talking around the campfire. The king's dying anyway. What does it matter who they send? 4 months since the ambush. The poison's in too deep. Argentum mortis, death silver, nasty stuff. Heard he can't walk, can't shift. Just sits in that damn wheelchair screaming every full moon. Killed 3 servants last month. In a rage, threw one out a window. Poor bastard. Used to be the fiercest alpha in the north. Now he's that. And they're bringing him an Omega bride, goddess. That's cruel. Laughter, bitter, harsh. Isolde closed her eyes, tried to find her wolf, the creature that should be curled inside her soul, offering comfort, strength, nothing, just emptiness. She was going to die, in a foreign kingdom, married to a dying king she'd never met, all because Cassian decided she was worthless. The fever spiked again. The visions returned. This time, one woman, different from the others. She stood in a burning building, flames everywhere, soldiers closing in. She was young, maybe 25, dark hair, dark eyes. She looked directly at Isolde and spoke. Not worthless, never worthless. The blood runs true, even in you. Her hands glowed amber, so bright it hurt to look at. They fear what we can do, what we represent. Power they cannot control, cannot dominate, cannot break. The soldiers reached her, swords drawn. She didn't fight, she just smiled. But they cannot kill what lives in the bloodline. They can only scatter it, hide it, hope it never wakes. The sword came down. Isolde screamed, woke up. Day 7, the cage stopped moving. Iron Peak Fortress rose from the mountain like a scar. Massive, black stone, towers that pierced the clouds, built directly into the rock face, as if the mountain itself had grown claws. The walls were smooth, sheer. No handholds, no way to climb, only one entrance. A gate of iron thick as a man's torso. It looked impenetrable, brutal, designed to withstand sieges that would last years. It also looked sad. Isolde couldn't explain why, but the fortress felt heavy, oppressive, like it was drowning under the weight of something invisible. Grief, maybe, or despair. The guards dragged her from the cage. She could barely walk, legs weak, head spinning. They half-carried her through corridors, endless corridors, dark, cold, lit by torches that cast more shadow than light. Servants pressed against the walls as they passed, eyes down, terrified. No one spoke, no one smiled. The air smelled like old blood, medicinal herbs, and underneath, something sweet, rotten, the smell of a wound that wouldn't heal. They stopped at a massive door, oak, iron-banded. Lady Morgana waited there. Late 40s, elegant, severe. She wore dark gray, her hair pulled back so tight it stretched her face. Her eyes, calculating, cold. She looked at Isolde, the way someone looks at a bug, deciding whether to step on it or ignore it. Clean her, dress her, the king will see his gift at sunset. Gift. The word made Isolde's skin crawl, but she was too weak to protest, too broken. The servants bathed her in silence. Warm water, soap that smelled like lavender. They scrubbed away the grime, the fever sweat, the stink of the iron cage, brushed her hair until it shone, dark, long. The only thing about her that might be considered beautiful. They dressed her in velvet, deep sapphire blue, heavy, expensive. A gown meant for someone who mattered. It felt like a costume, a joke. Isolde looked at herself in the mirror, saw a ghost. Hollow eyes, too pale skin. The broken bond had carved pieces from her, left her, less. He's waiting. Lady Morgana's voice, sharp. Isolde followed, down more corridors, up a spiral staircase. Her legs trembled. She gripped the railing, forced herself up, one step, another. They reached another door, larger, heavier. Morgana opened it. The smell hit first. Rot, decay, burning flesh, bitter herbs trying to mask something underneath. Something dying. Enter. Isolde stepped inside. The room was massive. A hearth roared at the far end, casting dancing shadows across tapestries. Ancient weapons mounted on walls. A throne, empty, and in the center, a wheelchair, facing the fire. Come closer. The voice was destroyed. Gravel, glass, pain given sound. Where I can smell you. Isolde moved forward, each step in an effort. Her heart hammered, not from fear, from something else. A pull, faint, so faint she almost missed it. She rounded the wheelchair and saw King Kalen, 31 years old, but he looked older, harder. The right side of his face was ruined, burn scars, thick, twisted. They warped his jaw, pulled his lip into a permanent snarl. His right eye, milky white, dead, but his left eye, storm gray, piercing, alive. So intensely alive it hurt to meet his gaze. He was massive, even sitting. Broad shoulders, heavily muscled arms. His body was a weapon, but the legs, wrapped in bandages, motionless on the wheelchair's footrests, paralyzed. He looked at her, that gray eye taking in everything, her hollow cheeks, trembling hands, the scent of broken bond clinging to her like a shroud. His scarred lip curled. An omega. Disgust. Pure disgust. Cassian sends me his cast-offs. How? Poetic. Isolde opened her mouth. To say what? She didn't know, but something. I'm not. You are exactly what you are. Kalen's voice cut like a blade. Rejected. Broken. Dying. A joke. Wrapped in expensive velvet. Delivered to my doorstep like, what? Compensation. For my legs, my eye, my life. He laughed. It sounded like pain. They think I'm already dead, don't they? A crippled Alpha King deserves a crippled Omega bride. That's the message. Yes. No one is laughing, Your Majesty. Isolde's voice was steadier than she felt. They're afraid of you. Kalen blinked, surprised, just for a moment. And you, little Omega, are you afraid? She should say yes, should bow, scrape, play the role expected. Instead, I don't know what I am anymore. The truth, raw, bleeding. I thought I knew. I thought someone loved me. I thought I mattered. I was wrong about all of it. Kalen stared at her, long enough that the silence stretched, became uncomfortable. Then, I have no use for a wife. He leaned back, pain flickering across his face. The Argentum mortis is eating toward my heart. Physicians give me weeks, maybe days. My court circles like vultures, waiting for me to so they can tear the kingdom apart. He closed his eye, exhaustion washing over his features. I cannot walk, cannot shift, cannot protect, cannot provide, cannot anything. When he opened his eye again, it was resigned, You'll have a room, food, safety, such as it is, but stay out of my sight. I cannot bear your pity." He turned the wheelchair away, dismissing her. Isolde stood there, looking at the broad expanse of his back, the tension in his shoulders, the white-knuckled grip on the chair's wheels. She didn't see a monster. She saw a man trapped, betrayed by his own body, abandoned by hope. And for the first time since Cassian shattered her, Isolde didn't feel like crying for herself. She felt sorrow, deep, aching, for the king in front of her. "I don't pity you, your majesty." She said it softly, turned toward the door, paused. "I know exactly what it feels like to be discarded by people who were supposed to protect you." She left. Kaelin sat alone in the firelight, staring at the door she'd just walked through. The silence settled. Heavy, he could still smell her. Underneath the broken bond, underneath the fear, vanilla, rain, mountain heather, his wolf, dormant for months, nearly dead from the poison, stirred, just barely. A whisper, "Mate." Kaelin's hands trembled. "No," he said it to the empty room. "Impossible." But the scent lingered, and for the first time in 4 months, his wolf howled. 2 weeks passed. Isolde existed in a strange limbo. She had a room in the East Wing, small but warm, a bed with actual blankets, food delivered 3 times a day. More food than she'd ever had as an Omega servant. But she was a ghost. The court ignored her, or worse, treated her with barely concealed contempt. The Omega bride became a joke, whispered behind hands, laughed about in corridors. Lady Morgana gave her the smallest rations, the coldest baths, made sure Isolde understood. She was nothing. Captain Thaddeus watched her, constantly, his eyes suspicious, like he expected her to. What? Pull a dagger, assassinate the dying king? As if she had the strength. The broken bond still hurt, every moment, a constant ache, like a tooth that wouldn't stop throbbing. Her wolf was gone. She couldn't feel it anymore. The space where it should be was empty. But something else started. It began as a tingle in her fingertips. Faint, easy to dismiss. She'd be walking through the courtyard, the neglected courtyard, where plants grew wild, untended, and she'd touch a wilted flower. Just touch it, and the petals would perk up, just for a moment, color flushing back, before they'd wilt again. It happened 3 times before she noticed the pattern, 4 times before she stopped thinking she was hallucinating. By the 5th time, she stood in the courtyard, staring at a dead rose bush, and very carefully, deliberately, placed her hand on a brown, withered bloom. Heat, faint, warm, flowed from her palm. The rose shuddered. Color bled back into the petals. Red, deep, vivid. The stem straightened, leaves unfurled, for 10 seconds. Then it collapsed again. Dead. Isolde pulled her hand back, heart racing. What? What was that? She looked at her palm. Nothing unusual, no glow, no mark. But the heat, she'd felt it, and the rose had responded. That night, lying in bed, Isolde tried to remember her mother. She had no memories, no images, just absence. The pack never spoke about her. When Isolde asked as a child, she got slapped, told to stop asking questions. All she knew, her mother died when Isolde was an infant, and her father, unknown. An Omega bastard, that's what they called her. But now Isolde wondered. The visions during the fever, the glowing women, the one who'd spoken to her. The blood runs true. What blood? What legacy? What was she? The answer came on the night of the full moon. Isolde woke to screaming, not human screaming, something. Worse, raw, animal. The sound of a creature being flayed alive. It echoed through the stone corridors, vibrated the floor, the walls, her bones. She sat up, heart pounding, every instinct screaming at her to hide. Pull the blankets over her head, pretend she heard nothing, but she couldn't. That sound, that pain, it called to something deep inside her, something that hadn't existed 2 weeks ago. Isolde threw off the blankets, ran to the door. The corridor was empty, dark. The torches had gone out. or been extinguished. She ran barefoot over cold stone. Following the screams, they led her toward the king's wing, the section of the fortress she'd been explicitly told to avoid. Guards should have stopped her. There were none. The servants, the court, everyone had fled. They abandoned him. Every full moon, they left him alone, too terrified of his rage, his pain, his uncontrolled alpha aura. Isolde reached the king's chambers. The doors were closed, locked. The screaming came from inside, louder, desperate. She grabbed the handle, locked. Of course, please. She didn't know who she was begging. The door, the goddess, fate. Please, heat flooded her palm, the same heat from the courtyard. But stronger, more, the lock glowed, faint amber, then melted. The door swung open. Isolde stumbled inside and froze. The room was destroyed, furniture smashed to kindling, tapestries torn down, glass shattered everywhere. In the center, Kalen, on the floor. He'd dragged himself out of the wheelchair, his massive upper body trembling, clawing at the stone. Black veins pulsed across his skin, glowing, toxic silver light. They crawled up his neck, across his ruined face, spreading, reaching for his heart. His eye was rolled back, white, foam at his mouth, hyperventilating, lost, completely lost to agony. Kalen! Isolde rushed forward, fell to her knees beside him. The heat radiating from his body was intense, like standing too close to a forge. The smell of burning flesh, dark magic, choking. Get out. He choked the words, his voice inhuman, distorted. It's burning, goddess, tearing me apart. He tried to shove her away. His arm gave out. Isolde didn't think, didn't plan, just reached out, placed both hands on his chest, right over his heart, where the black veins were thickest, brightest. Heat exploded. Not heat, light, amber light, brilliant, blinding, poured from her palms. The room lit up. Every shadow burned away. The shattered furniture, the blood on the walls, everything visible in that impossible golden amber glow. Kalen gasped, his eyes snapped open. Storm gray, wide, shocked. Isolde pressed harder. The light intensified. She could feel the poison, the argentum mortis, like a living thing, writhing, fighting, trying to reach his heart. She could feel his pain, actually feel it, flooding into her own nervous system, agony beyond anything she'd imagined, burning, shredding, destroying from the inside out. And she absorbed it, pulled it into herself, let the amber light wrap around it, smother it, neutralize it. The black veins recoiled, stopped spreading, began, slowly, retreating, back down his neck, his face, his chest, back toward his legs, where they'd been festering for months. The light poured from Isolde IV. She didn't know. Minutes, hours, time stopped meaning anything. Until, finally, the light faded. Isolde slumped forward, exhausted, every drop of strength. Gone. Her head came to rest against Kalen's chest. She could hear his heartbeat. Strong, steady, not dying, not anymore. Beneath her, Kalen was, still, breathing, deep, even, the ragged hitch of constant pain, gone. The black veins, invisible now, retreated back beneath the bandages on his legs. The heat, the burning, the agony, absent for the first time in 4 months. He felt nothing. No, not nothing. He felt her, Isolde, collapsed against him, her small frame, fragile, trembling, cold sweat dripping from her forehead, gasping for air, slowly, carefully, like he was afraid she'd shatter. Kalen lifted one massive hand, touched her hair, dark, soft. His fingers trembled. What are you? His voice, raw, broken, not from pain, from awe. I don't know. Isolde's voice was barely audible. I don't know. Kalen's arms, hesitant, uncertain, came up, wrapped around her, pulled her against his chest, not possessive, protective. He held her like she was precious, vital. Listen to me, Isolde. Kalen's voice dropped. Low, dangerous, protective. You cannot tell anyone about this. What you did. Do you understand? No one. Why, she was too weak to even lift her head. Kalen's arms tightened around her, because the poison wasn't an accident. His gray eye narrowed, staring at the heavy doors, calculating, planning. The ambush was orchestrated by someone inside this castle, someone who wants me dead, he paused. And if they find out you can heal me, that you have power, they will kill you first. Isolde's eyes fluttered closed, too tired to process, too exhausted to care. Kalen held her. Through the night, watching the door, his mind racing, everything had just changed. The dying king had found his salvation, and his mate in the broken Omega. No one else was supposed to want. Morning came cruel. Isolde woke in Kalen's bed, which, no, that wasn't. She shouldn't be. Panic, sharp, immediate. She sat up too fast. The room spun. Her head pounded. Every muscle in her body screamed. Exhausted, wrung out, Kalen sat in his wheelchair. Watching her, his face unreadable. He'd covered her with blankets, at some point, carried her to his bed while she was. What? Unconscious. Sleeping. She didn't remember. The room looked better in daylight. Someone had cleaned. The broken furniture removed. Glass swept up. Fresh tapestries hung. Like last night's destruction had been. Erased. But Kalen, he looked different. The gray cast to his skin, gone. The lines of constant pain around his mouth, smoothed. He sat straighter in the chair. Shoulders back, not hunched in agony. He looked alive. What did you do to me? Not a question, a demand. Isolde's throat was dry, raw. She tried to speak, coughed instead. Kalen wheeled closer, handed her a cup of water. His movements, deliberate, controlled. But she caught the tremor in his hand. He was rattled. Good. So was she. She drank. The water helped. A little. I don't know what I did. The truth, she had no idea. The light, the amber, I felt it and I just reacted. Kalen leaned forward, intensity radiating off him in waves. You healed me. Maybe, I don't. The poison, the argentum mortis, it's still there, in my legs, but it's contained for the first time in 4 months. I can breathe without it feeling like my lungs are being shredded. Before Isolde could answer, the door burst open. Isolde yelped, yanked the blankets up to her chin. An old woman swept in, 67, 70 maybe, silver hair in a long braid, face mapped with wrinkles, but her eyes, sharp, bright, missing nothing. Out, she pointed at Kalen. Your Majesty, with all due respect, out, now. Kalen's eyebrows rose, amused, despite everything. This is my room, Morel. And this girl just saved your ungrateful life. She needs rest, medical attention, not you hovering like a broody hen. Morel, the castle healer, Isolde had heard whispers about her, the only person who dared talk back to the king. Kalen's mouth twitched, almost a smile. We need to talk about what she is. Later, out. Morel physically shooed him toward the door. Impossible. Shooing an alpha king. But she did it. And somehow, Kalen went. He paused at the threshold, looked back at Isolde. We have an agreement, you and I, yes. It wasn't a question, but Isolde nodded anyway. The door closed behind him. Morel turned, studied Isolde with those sharp eyes, calculating, assessing. Then, she smiled, warm, genuine. Spirit Weaver. 2 words. That changed everything. Extinct, that's what they teach. Morel sat on the edge of the bed, examining Isolde's hands, turning them over, checking her pulse, eyes, tongue. The routine of a healer who'd seen everything. 300 years ago, the Great Purge, alphas, terrified of power they couldn't control, hunted the spirit weavers, women, mostly women, who could heal, manipulate life force, channel the goddess's energy. She released Isolde's hand, sat back. They killed thousands, burned them, drowned them, erased them from history, or tried to. But, Isolde's voice cracked. I'm here. You are. Morel's smile turned sad. The bloodline survived, hidden, scattered. The gene went dormant, passed down through omegas, because who suspects an omega, the weakest, the lowest, of harboring the most dangerous power in the realm? She tilted her head. It only awakens when a true mate, an alpha true mate, is in mortal danger. The bond, even unformed, triggers the gift. Isolde's heart stopped. True mate. King Kalen. Morel said it like it was obvious. You felt it, didn't you? The pull, the need to save him, even though you'd only met him once. Isolde had felt it, but she'd thought, assumed, it was just compassion, empathy, not fate. I was Cassian, he was my mate. Was he? Morel's voice turned sharp. Or did it just feel that way? Because you wanted it to, needed it to, clung to the idea so hard you convinced yourself. The words hit like slaps. Because. The bond by the Cassian had always felt off, wrong, like wearing shoes that didn't quite fit. She'd ignored it, told herself it was normal, that mate bonds took time to settle. But with Kalen, even broken, even dying, even terrified, when she touched him, it felt like home. What do I do? Isolde whispered. Morel took her hand, squeezed. You heal him, night by night, slowly, carefully, and you tell no one. Do you understand the court here is full of vipers? Someone poisoned the king. Someone wants him dead. If they discover you can save him, they'll kill you first. Kalen said the same thing. Because he's not stupid. Morel stood. Rest today. Tonight. When the castle sleeps, you will come here, heal him, build your strength, and most importantly, she fixed Isolde with a look that could cut glass. Learn to control your power before it consumes you. The pact was simple, dangerous, but simple. Every night after the castle slept, Isolde would slip through the dark corridors to Kalen's chambers. He'd be waiting, sitting by the fire, pretending, for the court, for the servants, that he was still dying. During the day, he played his part flawlessly, slumped in the wheelchair, skin deliberately powdered with ash by Isolde to mimic the gray pallor of approaching death. He'd cough, violently, during council meetings, dismiss his advisors early, too weak to continue. Duke Aldrich watched, satisfied. The poison was working. The king was fading, exactly as planned. But at night, behind locked doors, the truth. Isolde would kneel before Kalen, press her hands to his chest, his legs, wherever the black veins clustered thickest, and the amber light would flow, warm, steady, burning away the argentum mortis, molecule by molecule, vein by vein. It was exhausting. The first week, Isolde could barely manage 20 minutes before collapsing. The power drained her, left her hollow, shaking. Kalen would catch her, every time, lift her like she weighed nothing, carry her to his bed, tuck the blankets around her, sit in a chair beside her, watching. Until dawn, he never touched her. Beyond the necessary, never took advantage, just watched. Like he was afraid she'd disappear if he looked away. Week 2, Isolde could manage 30 minutes. 40, the power came easier, more controlled, less wild. And Kalen started to heal. Not dramatically, not overnight miracle, but the black veins receded, inch by inch. The burning pain that had consumed him for months, dulled, became manageable. He could move his fingers, toes, small movements. But movement, which meant hope. Week 3. Tell me about your childhood, Isolde asked one night. She was kneeling, hands on his thighs, amber light glowing steady between her palms. The intimacy of it should have been awkward, uncomfortable. It wasn't. It felt right. Kalen was quiet so long that she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, my father was brutal. His voice, low, rough. He believed alphas ruled through fear, through dominance. Compassion was weakness, mercy, foolishness. He paused. My mother, she was different, gentle. She'd sneak into my room at night after he'd beaten me, sing old songs, lullabies, tell me I was more than what he tried to make me. What happened to her? Isolde already knew, from the pain in his voice. She defied him, publicly, told the court he was wrong, that leadership should be about protection, not domination. He killed her in front of everyone to prove a point. Kaylin's hands fisted. I was 8. Isolde's light flickered, her throat tight. I'm sorry. Duke Aldrich, my uncle, my mother's brother, he stepped in, raised me. After my father died, I believed he was different, better. His laugh was bitter. I was wrong. The ambush. 4 months ago, traveling through the mountain pass, Aldrich insisted on that route, said it was faster, safer. Kaylin's eye went distant. We were surrounded, Shadowvale assassins. They had Argentum Mortis, weapons coated in it. I fought, killed most of them, but he gestured to his face, his legs. One blade got through, sliced across my face, my spine, the poison. Immediate paralysis, burning. I thought I was dead. But you survived. I survived. He looked at her, really looked. And now you're healing me. The question hung. Isolde didn't have a good answer, or she did. But she wasn't ready to say it out loud. So instead, because everyone deserves a second chance, Kaylin reached out, slowly, gave her time to pull away. She didn't. His hand, calloused, warm, cupped her cheek. You are extraordinary, Isolde. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. And I don't deserve you. Before she could respond, before she could process, the light flared, too bright. She gasped, pulled back, exhausted. Kaylin caught her, like always, carried her to bed, stayed. Until dawn, week 5. Everything changed. Isolde was in the courtyard, the neglected one. She'd claimed it, unofficially, spent hours there, practicing, learning to channel the amber light in small doses, coaxing dead plants back to life, then releasing them, letting them die again. Control, Morel said, was everything. She was focused, hands hovering over a withered rose. When? So, this is where you hide. Isolde spun. Elowen, standing at the courtyard entrance, dressed in traveling clothes. Dusty, road-worn, her blonde hair pulled back, face, tired, drawn. Solda's first instinct. Run, her second, stand her ground. She did neither, just froze. Elowen walked closer, slow, non-threatening, her hands visible, empty. I'm not here to hurt you. Her voice, quiet, almost apologetic. Then why are you here? Isolde's voice, steadier than she felt. Elowen stopped. 3 feet away, her eyes, blue, sad, searched Isolde's face. To tell you the truth, because I'm tired, so tired, of the lies. She took a breath. Cassian didn't choose me because he loved me. He chose me because my family has armies, resources, trade routes. Her hands twisted together. And because if he didn't, they'd kill my younger sister. She's 12, innocent. He threatened her to force my compliance. Isolde's anger, the burning resentment she'd been nursing, wavered. You're a prisoner too. Aren't we all? Elowen's smile, bitter. He manipulated both of us, kept you hidden, kept me caged, used us, like pieces on a game board. She stepped closer. I don't love him, I never did. And when I found out what he did to you, the rejection, sending you here, I can't be part of this anymore. So you, what, came here to apologize? I came to warn you. Elowen's voice dropped. Urgent. Cassian is planning something with Duke Aldrich. I don't know the details, but I've heard whispers about the Winter Summit, about eliminating threats. Her eyes locked on Isolde Bones. You're in danger. King Kaelin is in danger, and I can help if you'll let me. Isolde studied her, looking for what? Deception? Hidden motives? She saw exhaustion, desperation, truth. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't. Elowen's honesty, startling. I've given you no reason to, but I'm asking anyway because I think we're stronger together than separated. She held out her hand. Allies. Isolde looked at that hand for a long moment, then took it. Allies. Week 7, Kalen could stand, not for long, not without support, but he could stand. Isolde watched, heart in her throat, as he gripped the mantelpiece, pulled himself up, slowly, muscles shaking, legs trembling beneath him, but upright, on his own feet, for the first time in 4 months. He looked at her, his face, transformed, not by healing, by joy, pure, unfiltered. I'm standing, his voice cracked. Isolde, I'm standing. She was crying, didn't even realize it, tears streaming down her face, because this was everything, proof that she could, that her power worked, that maybe, she wasn't worthless after all. Kalen's legs gave out. She rushed forward, caught him or tried to. He was massive. They both went down, tangled, laughing, actually laughing, his arm around her waist, her hands on his chest, their faces inches apart. The laughter died. His eye, storm gray, intense, dropped to her lips. Isolde. Her name, a question, a prayer. She should pull away, should. This was dangerous, complicated, but she didn't want to. His hand came up, cupped her face, thumb brushing her lower lip. Tell me to stop. She couldn't, didn't want to. He kissed her, soft, gentle, reverent like she was, precious, fragile, worth savoring, not consuming. Different, so different from Cassian, who'd always kissed like he was, taking, claiming. Kalen kissed like he was, asking, and she answered. Yes, when they finally broke apart. Both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. This is complicated. I know. You were sent here as tribute, obligation. I know. I'm still poisoned, dying. My court wants me dead. You're in danger just being near me. I know. His eye searched hers. Then why? Because. She smiled. Small, real. You see me not as Omega, not as broken, just me. His arms tightened around her. I see you, Isolde, and you are everything. Week 9. Isolde was heading to the kitchens. Late, couldn't sleep, wanted tea, passed an alcove near the war room, heard voices, low, urgent. She should keep walking, should, mind her own business, but something stopped her. She pressed against the wall, hidden in shadow, and listened. He should be dead by now. That voice, cold, aristocratic, Duke Aldrich. I increased the dosage, as you instructed, my lord, but he drinks less and less. That Omega, she tastes his food, his wine, everything. Lady Morgana, Isolde's blood, froze. Morgana, the castle manager, who'd been cruel, dismissive, was the poisoner. Then Cassian was a fool. Aldrich's voice, dripping venom. He promised sending an Omega would be the final insult, break Kalen's spirit, make him give up. Instead, she guards him. There was a sound like a magical communication device activating. Then another voice, familiar, hated, Cassian. Is he dead yet? Isolde's knees buckled. She caught herself against the wall, barely. Soon, Aldrich's response. The Omega is more resilient than expected. Killer, make it look like suicide, grief over the rejection. Cassian, cold, casual, like ordering dinner. I have a better plan, Aldrich sounded, pleased. Winter Solstice Summit, 3 weeks, 7 kingdoms attending. I'll expose her as assassin, plant evidence, execute her publicly, blame your pack, start war, seize throne during chaos. Perfect, Cassian's voice, satisfied. And the girl, dispose of her, No one mourns in Omega. The communication cut off. Isolde couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Cassian knew about the poisoning, the assassination was part of it, had sent her here, not just to fulfill treaty, but to die, to be collateral damage. In his plan to, what? Seize power, control kingdoms. She'd thought the rejection was cruel. This was evil. Do we have an understanding? Aldrich's voice. Yes, my lord. Morgana. Good. Increase the poison again and watch the Omega closely. Footsteps and coming toward her. Isolde ran, silent, barefoot on stone, back to her room, heart pounding, mind screaming. She had to tell Kalen. Had to. Now. She burst into his chambers. No knock, no warning. He was by the fire, standing, leaning on a cane. He'd been practicing, walking. He turned, saw her face. Isolde. What? Cassian. She couldn't. Form sentences. Couldn't. He knew. It was about the ambush, the poison. He's working with Aldrich. They're planning summit 3 weeks. They're going to kill me, frame me, start war. The words tumbled out, frantic, broken. Kalen crossed to her, fast, faster than he should be able. Gripped her shoulders. Slow down. Tell me everything. She did. Every word, every detail, the conversation, the plan. Kalen's face, transformed, the warmth, the gentleness, burned away, replaced by ice, fury, the Alpha King, in full. He sent you here to die. Not a question. Yes. Kalen's hands trembled, not from weakness, from rage barely controlled. He will regret that. His voice, low, dangerous. But first, we use this. Use what? They think I'm dying, weak. Let them continue thinking it. We have 3 weeks, 3 weeks to prepare to turn their trap against them. He cupped her face, forced her to meet his eyes. You are not going to die, Isolde. Do you understand? I will burn this kingdom to ash before I let anyone touch you. The intensity, the absolute certainty, it should have scared her. It didn't. It felt like safety. What do? We heal me completely. We build our strength, and when they spring their trap, his smile, sharp, lethal, we spring ours. Week 10, the healing sessions, changed, became more intimate, intense. Not just physical healing, but soul healing. Kalen told her everything. His childhood, his mother's death, his uncle's betrayal, the ambush, the months of agony, believing he'd die alone, unmated, his kingdom crumbling. Isolde shared her pain, the rejection, the years of abuse, being nothing, no one, believing she deserved it. They talked for hours between healing sessions about everything, nothing. He made her laugh, actually laugh, with dry observations about his pompous counselors, stories about absurd diplomatic incidents. She made him smile, real smiles, not the cold, regal mask, but genuine warmth. And through it all, the mate bond grew, undeniable, inescapable. One night, week 10, Isolde was healing him. The Argentum Mortis was almost gone, just traces, stubborn, clinging to his spine. She pushed too hard, channeled too much power, trying to finish it, burn it all away. The light blazed, blinding. She gasped, swayed. Kalen caught her, pulled her hands away. Stop, Isolde. You're hurting yourself. I have to finish it. Let it wait. His voice, fierce. I will not let this magic kill you to save me. I refuse to lose you. The sincerity, the raw emotion, broke something in her. Why? She looked up at him, this impossible man. Why do you care so much? Kalen's eye, that storm gray, softened. Because. He hesitated, then seemed to decide something. You're my mate, Isolde, true mate I've known. Since the first night, your scent, the pull, everything points to you. Her breath stopped. But Cassian, he was. Was he? Kaylin's thumb brushed her cheek. Did it ever feel right with him? Or did you convince yourself because you wanted so badly to be wanted? The truth cut deep because, no, it never felt right. It felt desperate, clinging, wrong. But with Kaylin, even in darkness, in pain, in danger, it felt like coming home. I can't claim you yet, Kaylin's voice, rough. Not while there's poison in my blood, not while you're in danger, not while this looms over us. His forehead pressed against hers. But when this is over, when we've surveyed, I'm going to do this right. I take you properly, court you, give you everything you deserve. Isolde's hands fisted in his shirt. And if I don't want to wait, his breath hitched. Isolde, I spent 4 years waiting for someone who didn't deserve it. I'm done waiting. She pulled back, looked at him. This man who'd seen her at her weakest, broken, dying, and called her extraordinary. I don't need courtship or ceremony. I just need you. Kaylin's control, the iron discipline, cracked. He kissed her, not gentle, not asking, claiming, and she kissed back, yes, 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 when they broke apart. Both gasping, he held her tight. After the summit, when we've won, I'm claiming you, before the 7 kingdoms, before everyone. Promise. I swear it, on my life, my throne, my soul. And Isolde believed him. The next morning, Morel summoned her to the healer's workshop, deep in the castle, lined with herbs, potions, ancient books. The old woman looked grave. Sit. Isolde sat. Morel didn't, pace instead, agitated. There's something I need to tell you about your mother. Isolde's heart stopped. You knew her. I did. Morel's eyes. Ancient. Her name was Liana Sinclair, last known Spirit Weaver of the bloodline. The name echoed in Isolde's mind. Liana, her mother. She came to Blood Moon Pack 24 years ago, pregnant, alone, fleeing persecution. I helped her, hide, gave her Omega status to disappear. Morel stopped, turned. Cassian's father, Alpha Roderick, discovered her, what she was. He ordered her execution. Isolde's hands clenched. Cassian was 5 years old. He watched as they burned her alive. The world tilted. Cassian watched her mother die. He knew all along who I was, what I could become. He kept you close, out of guilt. Yes, but also control he wanted. To use you. When your power awakened, use your bloodline for his own gain. Morel knelt, took Isolde's hands. When Elder Balthazar offered the treaty bride clause, Cassian saw opportunity. Send you to Kaylin. You heal the king. Cassian reclaims you, controls, Spirit Weaver power, rules, everything. Rage, hot, burning, flooded Isolde. Not just the rejection, not just the betrayal, her mother. Cassian's family murdered her mother, and he kept that secret for 18 years, used her, played her like she was nothing. He's going to pay. Isolde's voice, cold, hard. They all are. Morel smiled, sad, proud. That's my girl. 2 weeks until summit, Kaylin could walk, unassisted. The poison, nearly gone. Just traces. He kept up the charade. Wheelchair during the day, ash-powdered skin, coughing fits. Duke Aldrich watched, satisfied, planning his coup. But at night, Kaylin trained. Sword drills, hand to hand, building strength, preparing for war. Isolde trained too, with Morel, learning to control the amber light, to heal, yes, but also to protect, to fight. Spirit weavers weren't just healers. They were warriors of a different kind. Eloan proved invaluable. She had information, access to Cassian's communications, his plans. She fed everything to Kalen, the three of them, plus Morel, Captain Thaddeus, who, it turned out, had always suspected Aldrich. They planned, carefully, meticulously, and when Duke Aldrich summoned the Seven Kingdoms, when he thought he was springing his trap, they'd be ready to spring theirs the night before the summit. Isolde couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony, outside Kalen's chambers, staring at the stars. Tomorrow, everything changed, win or die. Can't sleep either, Kalen's voice. Behind her, he joined her, leaning on the railing, so close their shoulders touched. I keep thinking, Isolde's voice, quiet. What if we lose? What if I can't save you? You already saved me. Kalen turned, faced her. Not just from the poison, from myself. I was drowning in rage, despair, ready to give up. His hand found hers. You reminded me what it means to hope. Kalen, whatever happens tomorrow, win or lose, I want you to know. He pulled her close. You are the best thing that ever happened to me, and I will fight with everything I have to protect you. Isolde rose, on tiptoes, kissed him, soft, sweet, full of everything she couldn't say. When they broke apart, she whispered, we're going to win. He smiled, yes, we are, and held her. Until dawn, ready for whatever came next. The winter solstice summit. Dawn broke cold, sharp. The kind of winter morning that cut through wool and skin straight to bone. Iron Peak Fortress transformed overnight. Banners hung from every tower. 7 kingdoms, 7 crests, flapping in the bitter wind. The courtyard filled with horses, carriages, armed escorts, servants rushing, carrying trunks, supplies. The controlled chaos of wolves who didn't trust each other forced into proximity. Isolde watched from her window, heart hammering. Today, everything ended, or began, depending. She wore the dress Morel had chosen, deep midnight blue, Iron Peak colors, silver embroidery at the collar, wrists, hem, simple, but unmistakably royal. Her hair, braided, woven with silver cord, a circlet, small, delicate, rested on her head. She looked different. Not the broken Omega who'd arrived in an iron cage 3 months ago. Not the servant who'd scrubbed floors and taken beatings without complaint. She looked regal, which was terrifying. A knock. Come in. Kalen entered, and oh, he wore full ceremonial armor, black, polished to mirror shine, silver wolf etched across the breastplate. A crown, iron and obsidian, rested on his dark hair, but it was his face that stopped her breath. No ash powder, no pretend pallor. His skin healthy, strong, the burn scars still there, always would be, but the death gray, the exhaustion, gone. He looked alive, powerful, every inch, the Alpha King. And he was, walking, no wheelchair, no cane, just steady, sure steps. He stopped, took her in, his storm gray eye traveling over her. You're beautiful. Heat flooded her cheeks. You're intimidating. His mouth twitched. Good. That's the point. He crossed to her, took her hands. They were shaking. Scared. Not a question. Terrified. The truth, Kalen squeezed. Grounding. Me too. That helped, somehow, knowing he was human, afraid, not just Stone King. We're going to walk in there, together. Let them see. I'm healed. You're mine. And Duke Aldrich has lost. And if he fights, then we fight. Simple, direct. Kalen lifted her hand, pressed a kiss to her knuckles. Whatever happens, stay close to me. Yes, yes. Good. Now, let's go. Remind them. Who rules Iron Peak? The Great Hall. Massive, vaulted ceilings, columns of black marble, torches blazing, tables arranged in a horseshoe. 7 kingdoms, each with their alpha, their entourage, their banners. At the far end, the high table, empty throne, waiting. Duke Aldrich stood, near the center, playing host, gracious, solicitous, every inch the concerned uncle, managing affairs while his poor dying nephew faded away. He wore dark burgundy, gold trim, looking important, kingly almost. The other alphas watched, wary, calculating, scenting, weakness, opportunity. At the lower tables, lesser wolves, betas, advisors, and there, Blood Moon Pack banner, crimson, gold, Cassian, Isolde's breath, caught. He sat, relaxed, confident, Elowin beside him. But, even from across the hall, Isolde could see Elowin's rigid posture, the way she held herself apart from him, playing her part. Cassian looked good, healthy, strong, everything an alpha should be. It made Isolde's stomach twist. This man killed her mother, used her, threw her away, and sat there, like he'd done nothing wrong. The herald, at the entrance, slammed his staff once, twice, 3 times. The hall fell silent. All rise for His Majesty, King Kalen of Iron Peak, and his destined mate, Lady Isolde. The words echoed, destined mate, not tribute, not bride, mate. The doors opened. Kalen stepped through. Isolde, at his side. He wasn't in the wheelchair. He was walking, tall, commanding, radiating, alpha power so thick the air shimmered. Gasps ripped through the hall, actual, physical gasps. Chairs scraped. Wolves stood, automatically, instinctively, submitting to that power. Duke Aldrich's face drained color completely. His mouth opened, closed, no sound. At the Blood Moon table, Cassian froze, wine goblet halfway to his lips. He stared at Isolde. This wasn't the broken, weeping girl he'd banished. She walked, head high, shoulders back, hand resting lightly on Kalen's arm. She wore Iron Peak colors, a crown, power draped around her like a cloak. She looked untouchable, and Cassian's face twisted with something. Ugly, shock, fear, rage, all 3. Kalen walked, steady, strong, to the high table, helped Isolde into the chair beside the throne, then sat himself the throne that had been empty for 4 months. He sat like he'd never left. The hall remained standing, waiting. Kalen let them wait, let the silence stretch, build, become uncomfortable. Then sit. One word, command, absolute. Every wolf sat except Duke Aldrich. Nephew, Aldrich's voice strained, trying for casual, failing. We did not expect you to join us. The physicians said you were too weak. Did they? Kalen's voice, cold. Or was that simply what you hoped? Aldrich stiffened. I only wish for your health. Then you shall have your wish, uncle. Kalen stood, again, slow, deliberate, every eye locked on him. He walked down the steps of the dais toward Aldrich. No limp, no tremor, pure lethal grace. I am healed. Murmurs swept the hall. Impossible. Argentum mortis. No cure. How? Kalen stopped, inches from Aldrich. The poison you fed me for 4 months is gone. Aldrich's eyes widened. I would never. Liar. The word cracked like a whip. Captain Thaddeus stepped forward. From the shadows, carrying a wooden box, he opened it. Before the assembled kingdoms, inside, vials, dark liquid, correspondence, ledgers, evidence. Lady Morgana step forward. Kalen's voice rang out. The castle manager, pale, shaking, walked into the center. Tell them, Morgana's voice, barely audible. Duke Aldrich ordered me to poison the king after the ambush. He said it was mercy ending suffering. Lies. She knew it was lies, but she'd done it anyway. He paid me, threatened me. I'm sorry. Too late. For sorry, Kalen turned to the 7 alphas. My uncle orchestrated the ambush, paid Shadow Veil assassins, poisoned me, planned to execute my mate, start a war, and seize my throne. Duke Aldrich's composure shattered. You have no proof, don't I? Thaddeus activated a communication crystal, the kind used for long distance conversations. A voice filled the hall. Is he dead yet? Cassian's voice. Every head turned toward Blood Moon table. Cassian stood, face thunderous. The recording continued. Aldrich responding. Soon, the Omega is stronger than expected. Cassian. Killer, make it look like suicide. Aldrich. I have a better plan. The plan laid out every detail, framing Isolde, starting war, seizing power. The crystal went dark, silence, absolute. Then chaos. Alphas shouted, demanded explanations. Guards drew weapons. Aldrich back toward the door, hand dropping to his sword. This is lies, fabrication. The Omega bewitched him. He pointed at Isolde. Spirit weaver, dark magic. She must be destroyed. Fear flickered through the crowd. Spirit weaver, the cursed bloodline, dangerous. Kalen moved, fast, blocking Aldrich's path. You will not touch her. His alpha aura slammed into the room, so heavy, several betas dropped to their knees. You poisoned your own blood, allied with traitors, tried to murder my mate. Aldrich's face twisted. She's an Omega, worthless, you think. Making her queen makes you strong. It makes you weak. No. A new voice, old, weathered, Elder Balthazar, stepped forward from where he'd been, watching, 70 years old. But his presence commanded respect. Spirit weavers are not dark magic. They were healers, protectors, hunted by alphas who feared power they couldn't control. He looked at Isolde. The Great Purge, 300 years ago, was genocide. We slaughtered innocents, women, children, because they represented what we were not. Compassion, healing, life. His voice rang clear. Lady Isolde is the last of the Sinclair bloodline. She is not darkness. She is the moon goddess's grace made flesh. An old alpha from the western ridges stood, Gideon, grizzled, fierce. He looked at Isolde, then Kalen, dropped to one knee. If King Kalen lives when he should be dead, if an Omega healed what no physician could, then that is not dark magic. His voice, rough. That is a miracle. He bowed head to the floor. Long live the King of Iron Peak. Like dominoes, the other alphas followed one by one until the entire hall knelt, except Duke Aldrich and Cassian. Aldrich realized too late he was surrounded. Guards, loyal to Kalen, blocked every exit. You betrayed everything. Kalen's voice, quiet, deadly. I trusted you. After my mother died, you were all I had, and you tried to kill me. Aldrich's composure cracked. I loved your mother. She was my sister, and your father destroyed her for daring to question him. His voice breaking. I swore I'd protect you, make you different, better. But you're just like him, brutal, uncompromising. I am nothing like him. Kalen's eye blazed. He ruled through fear. I rule through justice. Justice, Aldrich laughed, bitter. You'll execute me just like he would have. Kalen opened his mouth to confirm, but Isolde stood, walked down the dais, steps, stood beside Kalen. No, her voice, soft but carried. Kalen turned, surprised. Isolde, killing him, solves nothing. It just continues the cycle. She looked at Aldrich, saw, not a monster, but a broken man. You lost your sister to brutality and became brutal yourself. Her voice gentle. Grief turned you into what you hated. Aldrich's eyes widened. What are you? Giving you a choice. Isolde stepped closer. Death or redemption? Redemption. He spat the word. There is no redemption for what I've done. There is always redemption. Isolde raised her hands. They glowed. Amber light, soft, warm, not burning, healing. You carry grief like poison. Let me take it. She pressed her glowing palms to his chest. Aldrich gasped. The light flooded into him, and he saw his sister, Kalen's mother, young, laughing, dancing in a garden before the darkness, before the brutality. He saw her as she was before fear. Broke her in her voice. Brother, let go. Live for healing, not revenge. Aldrich collapsed, weeping, actual. Tears, the hall, watched, stunned. Isolde stepped back, exhausted. Kalen caught her. What did you do? I showed him what he'd forgotten, love, before it turned to hate. Aldrich, on his knees, looked up at Isolde. I'm sorry. I know, her voice sad. You'll spend the rest of your life building a sanctuary for spirit weavers, protecting what you tried to destroy. She looked at the 7 alphas. That is his sentence. Service, not death. Alpha Gideon nodded slowly. The girl shows wisdom. The others murmured agreement. Kalen looked at Isolde like he'd never seen her before. You are extraordinary. But the confrontation wasn't over. Cassian stood at the blood moon table. This is absurd. His voice loud, cutting. You let an Omega dictate justice to a kingdom. He walked toward the center. She's bewitched you, all of you. Elowen stood. Cassian, stop. Sit down. He didn't even look at her. Isolde was mine. By right of first bond, she belongs to Blood Moon. No, Isolde's voice. Steel. I was never yours. Cassian's face darkened. I saved you, took you in, protected you. Protected me. Isolde's laugh, hollow. You used me, lied to me, threw me away when I no longer served your purpose. She walked toward him. But that's not the worst thing you did. Cassian's eyes narrowed. My mother, Liana Sinclair. Isolde's voice shook. Your father burned her alive. You watched. Gasps around the hall. Cassian didn't deny it. You were 5 years old, just a child. I could forgive that. Isolde stopped, inches from him. But you kept that secret for 18 years. You knew who I was, what I could become, and you used me. I kept you alive. Cassian's voice, defensive. I could have let them kill you too. I didn't. I protected you. You kept me as insurance. Isolde's eyes burning, waiting for my power to awaken so you could control it, control me. Cassian's mask slipped. So what? You were nothing, no one. I gave you purpose. The words hung Ugly truth. You're right, Isolde's voice. Quiet. I was. Nothing in your eyes, in the pack's eyes. She stepped back. But I know now my worth was never yours to define. She looked at the seven kingdoms. Cassian of Bloodmoon, allied with traitors, conspired to murder. A king tried to use me as weapon. She turned to Kaelin. By the power vested in me as Luna of Iron Peak and Sinclair, Spirit Weaver. Her voice rang out. I strip Cassian of his alpha title. Cassian staggered, like physically struck. You can't. I can. Kaelin stepped forward, stepped. Blood Moon Pack will be absorbed into Iron Peak's protection under Captain Thaddeus' command. He looked at Cassian. You boo have no pack, no title, no home. Guards move forward. Cassian drew his sword. No, I won't. I am Alpha, by blood, by right. You were, Elowen's voice. She stood at the Blood Moon table. But you threatened my sister, forced me into marriage, lied about everything. Her eyes cold. The pack, elders, have already voted. You're done. Cassian. His face twisted. Rage. Desperation. He lunged at Isolde. Sword raised. Kaelin moved faster than thought. Caught. Cassian's wrist twisted. The sword clattered. Kaelin lifted Cassian off the ground, one hand around his throat. You will not touch her. His voice, death. Cassian clawed at Kaelin's hand, choking. Kaelin, Isolde's voice, soft. Don't. He tried to kill you. I know. She touched his arm. But killing him makes you what he is. Kaelin's hand trembled, every instinct, screaming, protect, destroy, eliminate. But he looked at Isolde and released. Cassian fell, gasping. You have until dawn to leave Iron Peak territory. Kaelin's voice, final. If I see you again, I won't be merciful. Guards dragged Cassian out, still screaming, protesting, until the doors slammed. Silence. The rest of the summit passed in a blur. The seven kingdoms swore allegiance to Kaelin, to Iron Peak. Recognize Isolde as Luna, as Spirit Weaver, as legitimate. Duke Aldrich was sentenced to service, stripped of title, land, power. He would build the sanctuary under Morel's supervision for the rest of his life. Lady Morgana confessed publicly, stripped of position, imprisoned. Elowen approached Isolde after. Thank you. Her voice, quiet. For what? Showing me it's possible to break free. She smiled, small, real. I'm rebuilding my family's territory. Captain Thaddeus agreed to help. Something in her eyes softened when she mentioned Thaddeus. Isolde smiled. I think you'll be very happy. Elowen squeezed her hand. You deserve happiness too. And left. That night, after the feast, the toasts, the endless formalities, Kaelin led Isolde to his chambers, their chambers. Now he closed the door, leaned against it. I can't believe we survived. Isolde laughed, exhausted, relieved, giddy. We did more than survive. She crossed to him. We won. Kaelin pulled her close. You were magnificent. We were magnificent, she corrected. He smiled, touched her face. I need to ask you something. His voice Suddenly, serious. Okay, he took her hands. Isolde, I know, we started unconventionally. You were sent here against your will. I was demying, bitter, broken. His thumb brushed her knuckles. But these past months, you've shown me what it means to hope, to heal, to love. Isolde's breath caught. I don't want you because of obligation or treaty or anything else. He dropped to one knee. Impossible. An alpha king kneeling. I want you because you're my mate, my equal, my partner. His eye, storm gray, vulnerable. Will you let me claim you not as subject, but as sovereign, beside me? Isolde's eyes, blurred with tears, happy tears. You already know the answer. I need to hear it. She knelt. With him, eye level. Yes, Kaelin, yes, 1,000 times. He kissed her. Then, not gentle, not tentative, claiming, and she kissed back, claimed him right back when they broke apart. Both, breathless. He stood, pulled her up. Tomorrow, before the 7 kingdoms, I'll claim you properly. I can't wait. His eyes darkened. Neither can I. The next morning, dawn, the great hall, packed, 7 kingdoms, witness, banners, everywhere. Isolde wore white, laced with silver thread, hair loose, flowing, a crown of iron and stars. Kaelin wore black, silver wolf etched on his chest, his crown, obsidian. They stood before the altar, Elder Balthazar presiding. Today, we witness not a claiming of dominance, his voice carried, but a claiming of partnership, equals joining. He looked at Kaelin. Do you, Kaelin, King of Iron Peak, Alpha of the North, claim Isolde Sinclair, Spirit Weaver, as your mate? Kaelin turned to Isolde, took her hands. I claim you not as possession, but as partner. His voice strong, not as subject, but as equal sovereign. He stepped closer. I claim you as the other half of my soul. Isolde's eyes shone. Balthazar turned to her. Do you, Isolde Sinclair, Spirit Weaver of the ancient bloodline, claim Kaelin as your mate? She smiled. I claim you, Kaelin, not because I need you, but because I choose you. Her voice clear. I claim you as partner, protector, and love of my life. She tilted her head, offering her neck, the mating gland. Kaelin hesitated, one heartbeat, then leaned in, his teeth extended. He bit down gently, precisely. The bond snapped into place, not broken like with Cassian, but complete, whole, right. Amber light exploded from Isolde, flooded the hall. Every shadow burned away. The 7 kingdoms watched in awe as the Spirit Weaver and the Alpha King became one. When the light faded, Kaelin pulled back, blood on his lips, Isolde's blood, mark on her neck, claiming complete. The hall erupted, cheers, howls, celebration. Kaelin kissed her in front of everyone, claiming her again, with lips, not teeth, and Isolde kissed back. Finally, home. 14 months later, the sanctuary rose from valley floor, white stone, built by Duke Aldrich's own hands. He worked every day, sunrise to sunset, atoning. 12 young spirit weavers trained there, girls who'd hidden their whole lives, now learning to heal, to protect, to be. Morel taught them patient, wise, passing on knowledge that almost died in the main hall of Iron Peak. Isolde sat on her throne, belly rounded, 8 months pregnant. She glowed, literally. Amber light pulsed faintly from her skin. The baby, already strong with magic, kicking constantly. Kalen sat beside her, handling disputes between neighboring packs. His hand rested on her belly, feeling each kick, each flutter, his face soft. When he looked at her, the brutal Alpha King, transformed by love, Captain Thaddeus, entered. Elowen at his side. They'd married 6 months ago. Her territory, thriving under their joint leadership. Your Majesties, Thaddeus bowed. Update from the sanctuary. Duke Aldrich requests permission to expand. The Eastern Wing, 3 more Spirit Weavers have emerged in the borderlands. Kalen nodded, granted, and commend him for his work. Thaddeus smiled, rare. He's changed, Your Majesty, genuinely. Redemption is possible, Isolde said softly, for those who seek it. Elowen stepped forward. The council also wishes to discuss succession planning. She glanced at Isolde's belly. For when the heir arrives. Kalen squeezed Isolde's hand. Tomorrow, we'll address it. Tomorrow. The baby kicked hard. They all laughed. That night, Isolde stood on the balcony, moonlight, silver, on her skin. Kalen joined her, wrapped his arms around her from behind, hands on her belly. What are you thinking? She leaned back against him. About how far we've come. She turned in his arms. I was rejected, discarded, called worthless. Her eyes shone, but my worth was never theirs to define. She touched his face. You help me. See that? Kalen rested his forehead against hers. Our child will never know what it's like to be told they're less. No, Isolde smiled. They'll know they're loved, cherished, powerful, like their mother. The baby kicked hard. They laughed and stood together under the stars, 2 broken people who'd found wholeness in each other. The Omega who became queen, the king who learned to heal. Together they'd broken every cycle and built something new, something beautiful, legacy. Not of power or conquest, but of love, compassion, second chances, and healing. The kind that echoed through generations forever. Some endings are just better beginnings, and some broken things heal stronger than they were before. This was one of those stories where the rejected became royalty, where the dying found life, where the powerless discovered they'd been powerful all along, where love didn't conquer, it healed. And that made all the difference.